Right. Do you guys remember the impression formation exercise? If you don't, this was the first class activity we participated in. It was probably a very fun one. It was where we all made assumptions about each other and wrote them down on pieces of paper. When I did this exercise, I based all of my assumptions of you guys on what you were wearing at the time, because I knew nothing else about you. And with extensive research, I learned a great deal about the psychology of clothing choice. Clothing choices affect other people's perceptions of you. People make their assessments in the first few seconds of seeing another. What you wear can inform a passerby of your type of employment, your emotions, your ambitions, and your spending habits. For example, if you were to walk through the UU and you saw some guy wearing basketball shorts, an athletic t-shirt, and some Bluetooth earbuds, a very common assumption would be that guy's going to or coming from the gym. Ultimately, the way that a person perceives you greatly affects an interaction with that person. Others may say that personality and your actions are what really defines you. The main idea is that the way you dress affects how people perceive you, and this is vital for business environments, as you can see here. The specific purpose is for you guys to be able to understand how clothing affects your image, and especially how to dress more professionally. Now, it's not news that a wardrobe says a lot about you. Do you want to appear more intelligent, professional, and sharp? The choice is yours. But in a business environment, it is crucial to appear this way. In a study that was conducted with 300 adults, they were showed several images in a 3-second snapshot. These images contained pictures of people dressed in made-to-measure suits and other images of people dressed in generic high-street suits. The faces of these images were blocked out and hidden so people couldn't make judgments based on their facial expressions. Now, people's judgments of these people in the images, in the made-to-measure suits, were seen as more confident, successful, and flexible, and also seen as a higher learner. And this comes from Professor Ben C. Fletcher, who's an occupational and health psychology expert. Those are characteristics that better you for every field of work that you could possibly go into. Professor Fletcher also states that in another experiment conducted in a classroom, teachers made assumptions on the children's academic ability based on their clothing. In a business context, this could go for marketing managers assuming the skill level of their employees. A clinical psychologist and author of several clothing psychology books, Dr. Jennifer Baumgartner, explains that your wardrobe brings light to psychological issues in your everyday life and even in the workplace. It's clear that clothing choice has a significant effect on the way that others perceive you in everyday life. So people need to dress in a way that shows that you spent time and effort to look good. And to do that, it shows that you actually care about what it is you're doing. And a quote from Mitch Finlay from Talk Business, he states that first impressions have the ability to make or break a business. And a positive experience can create long-lasting business relationships. When you first meet a potential client or investor, before you talk or see each other, before you talk, you're going to see each other. And you need to look professional because he'll make judgments about you. This is excluding conference calls and phone meetings, of course. He goes on to state that when it comes to making a good impression, you must take time to perfect a look. Be sure to know what you want to look like before going into that meeting. There's a clear need to dress for success so you can improve your image and in turn have more success in the future. Everyone can dress in this fashion. Professor Karen Pine from the University of Hertfordshire in England states that clothing influences a person's self-perception and confidence. Along with clothing, the accessories you choose can enhance your competitive edge. It's beneficial to dress professionally to help your confidence and make you appear more knowledgeable in whatever it is you're talking about. According to another study published by Social Psychology and Personality Science, researchers had people dressed in 2 separate groups. Some people dressed in formal business attire, and another group where people were underdressed and both groups would compete in a series of experiments that challenged their cognitive processing abilities. Now, the researchers analyzed the data, and subjects dressed in formal attire felt more powerful, they could think faster on their feet, and in turn they had more great ideas, or creative ideas. Scientists then concluded that clothing can change your perception of objects, people, or events that are going on around you. Perfecting your look can make you perform better in the work you do as well. Another very general way to improve the way you dress, according to Dr. Bumgarner, is to dress in a way that shows you spent time and effort to make sure that you don't come across as looking bad. This is very generic, but in a business environment, you need to focus on perfecting that look to create positive associations with yourself that whenever you go into a meeting, you always have the upper hand. According to Tariq Samara, who's a writer from Entrepreneur Magazine, he covers 4 benefits of dressing for success. The first is that you radiate self-respect and self-worth. He also mentions that it conveys your ability to balance trends with changing business conditions, and it relates to accessorizing in fashion. Having a more positive outlook is another benefit from dressing successfully. And then finally, you'll gain a competitive edge. Now, I want you all to take a look at the slideshow, and I'm going to show you guys 2 images, and then I just want to make sure you remember each image. Remember each image, because I'll ask you a set of questions after. That was the first image. That's image number 1. Now, if you were a business owner and were looking to hire an accountant, and those were your 2 candidates, if you had to choose from image 1 or image 2, who would choose the accountant from image 1? Majority of you. You don't know much about him, but all you can say is he looks far more professional. Second situation, if you were a private investor looking to invest in someone's company, and these 2 are business owners, they're coming to you to get you to invest your money in their business. The first one's dressed like you saw, and the second one is dressed like you saw. Who are you more likely to invest with? The person from image number 1 or image number 2? Who thinks image number 1? Exactly. Imagine walking into an office setting and they're wearing shorts and t-shirts and like Hawaiian shirts, and it's just like the guy you saw in image 2. No one would take them seriously. Without formality in the way we dress, we would never be able to tell how important something is to a business person and how much he or she cares about the work that they're doing. It is well known that personal judgments of character greatly influence how people interact in business today. It's human nature to make assumptions of people you see just based off their looks. It's very important to dress successful and look professional, especially in business environments. What all of you need to do is to choose a dress style carefully, because people will make all sorts of assumptions and decisions without proper evidence. We are unlikely to know what these assessments might be, so it's quite possible that our clothes reveal far more about us than we thought. And that comes from Professor Ben C. Fletcher. Now, another example. If your clothes have wrinkles, that shows carelessness and laziness. If your clothes have stains, that's another sign of laziness and carelessness. Finally, when you're dressing formally, you should try to balance or match clothes with belt and shoes go together, and then also shirt and blazer. Thank you, and I hope you guys understand more about dressing professionally.